welcome you out to our keynote address as part of the BYU Romney Institute Local Government Career Fair. And I am very honored to welcome my friend Ed Belmares to Brigham Young University again. Ed has had a distinguished career in local government and has been a friend of the Romney Institute for many years. I first met Ed after he'd hired several of our students in the San Antonio budget office. I thought it might be important to get to know this Texan who has seen such great value in BYU MPA students. Ever since meeting Ed, I have been deeply impressed with him and his career. Ed currently serves as the Assistant City Manager in the City of San Antonio, the 7th largest city in the United States. Although I will add, when you visit, not if you visit, but when you visit, trying to help you with the visitor, which is part of his responsibilities, you will notice that it has a wonderful small town feel. It is the biggest small town in America. It's a wonderful downtown, the river walk. So I encourage you all to visit San Antonio and see the wonderful job that the city is doing. Now, prior to his current position as the Assistant City Manager, Ed worked as the Vice President of Business Operations for CPS Energy. CPS Energy is the largest municipally owned energy utility in the United States. It offers natural gas and electricity service to San Antonio and the surrounding areas. In his role as Vice President at CPS, he was responsible for all facets of resource planning, including the implementation and management of the ongoing planning processes to meet their strategic vision for 2020. He was recruited to CPS Energy after having served for many years in various positions with the City of San Antonio. He served as their Director of Human Resources, the Director of the City's Office of Innovation and Reform. That office performs consulting services to various city departments. He also oversaw the Office of Municipal Integrity. And importantly to our relationship, he spent many years in the city's Office of Management and Budget, including 2 years as budget manager, where he helped develop their annual operating budget and their 5-year forecasting strategy. He has a master's degree in urban administration from Trinity University and a bachelor's degree from Our Lady of the Lake University, both of which are located in San Antonio. He is professionally very active. He serves in a variety of volunteer positions, including service with the March of Dimes, the Board of the San Antonio Sports Foundation, and the Board of the Texas City Management Association. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Ed Belmares as the keynote speaker at BYU's Local Government Career Fair.
Well, good morning, and thank you everyone for having me here today. I apologize ahead of time. I can barely hear myself. I have bad allergies, so if I speak too loudly or too quietly, hopefully somebody can let me know. But as Rex mentioned, I've been out here various times, and it's always energizing. Even today, I was up at 3:45, which is 2:45 your time, and I was excited to be here every time around students. It wasn't that long ago that I was in your shoes. It may look like it, but it was just about a decade and a half ago, and it's exciting. I think that I want to cover a couple things today. I won't take that much of your time. I've been in your shoes, and I know you probably don't want to hear me talk at you for 40 minutes. Plus, I had a hard time speaking with my allergies. But I want to talk a little bit about my background, more so not really to talk about myself, but talk to you a little bit about my educational work experiences and how they've helped me in my career. I think I've been very fortunate, and just some things I'd like to share with you that may help you in your career as you're starting out. Talk a little bit about what my role is in the current organization, and then I want to talk a little bit about I attended local universities, as was mentioned. I will tell you something, a couple things that are on my resume, and I think we'll probably get more value out of. When I left my undergraduate, I actually was a board fellow at UMass at Amherst. You won't see that on my bio anywhere, but I'm going to tell you because I think it's very relevant. I had an opportunity to get into the PhD program at a full ride, so to speak. And spent a semester up there, and I love the academic side, right? I'm intellectually curious, and I liked it. But I realized I wouldn't be a practitioner, and I struggled with that quite a bit. So I enrolled at Trinity University, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I was talking about things that would influence my community specifically, not broadly. What I was going to pursue at UMass at Amherst was a PhD in urban sociology. But actually being in an MPA program really helped me. It made me feel like I was more on the front line, so to speak. About a year into my program, I started having second doubts, as some of you may have, about did I choose the right field, am I doing the right thing? I went to speak to a professor of mine, a sociology professor, partially thinking that maybe he would suggest I should go to UMass Amherst, I should finish that PhD. It was interesting for me. He told me, he said, I'm an academic, I'm telling you, you'll be very happy as a practitioner, and I'm telling you, I just turned 39, and I'm telling you, I'm happy as a practitioner. I really enjoy my role. I love being able to influence what's going on in the community in which I live and where my children play. My parents, they're retired now, and they walk along, every morning they walk along our linear creekways, which we started a few years ago. It feels good to be able to have that kind of role when you're in local government. A big reason for doing what I've done is really what I would consider a calling for public service. I enjoy serving the public. I enjoy that. I have a 9-year-old and a 10-year-old, and sometimes I often get the question, you're really busy, how do you manage all that? How do you deal with life balance? My kids are very involved. I bring them to things. We had a West Side Summit where we're talking about West Side has historically been a very under-resourced part of our community, and we had a summit talking about what investments have been made and whatnot. I bring my kids along, and they come along to a lot of events. We had a tree planting. Guess who's there? One of the girls. So it's been helpful for me. Public service has been very, very beneficial. I'm going to walk through a little bit of my career, and I'm going to point out some things that may or may hopefully be helpful to you. But first, let me tell you about my current position. As was mentioned, I'm assistant city manager. And what that means specifically is we have a city manager, and then we have a few assistant city managers and 2 deputy city managers to provide oversight of various city departments. We have about 38 city departments. Sounds like a lot, but we have 12,600 employees. We serve 1.4 million residents. As was mentioned earlier, we're the 7th largest city in the country. We're the 2nd largest council manager form of government. So each of the assistant city managers and deputy city managers are assigned a segment of the organization. So, for example, I'm over the airport, downtown operations, which we treat downtown like almost like a little city, so kind of the maintenance and the capital improvement programs, everything for that. I'm also over the Convention and Visitors Bureau, our Cultural Affairs Department, convention, sports, entertainment facilities, everything that's hot tax funded is in my area, plus the, as I mentioned, the airport and downtown operations. You can read what an assistant city manager does, but I'll tell you, it's a key point for you to take away is we don't just ask our boss, hey, what can I take off your plate? We're actively just doing it for her. We're very fortunate to have a great city manager. Our mayor often has reversed her as a Tim Duncan of city managers. Prior mayor would often introduce her as the best city manager in the country. We're really fortunate to work with her, and she's very driven, very, very focused. But she expects you to take the lead. Take her problems, you kind of tell her, here's the problem, here's what we're going to do. So you won't see that in the job description, but that's essentially the role of what it means to be a city manager or assistant city manager. I told you I want to spend a little bit of time talking about challenges and rewards. I'll tell you a little bit of some of the challenges of public service. That may sound kind of odd as you're entering into this career, but I think it's good for you, for me to point that out for you. One is that, and I learned this early in my career, is the limits of formal education. Speaking at the university, you may cringe a little bit from hearing that, but for me, that was a big shock. I think I'm intellectually curious and highly analytical, and I know this program has often produced very analytical folks. And early on in my career, working for local and state elected officials, I realized that there are limits to your formal education. I'll share one story with you. I worked for the New Mexico Legislative Finance Committee for 2 years. I really enjoyed that role. And part of my role, I was a fiscal and policy analyst. So I would, as bills were introduced, I would do what were called fiscal impact reports, do analysis, and then I used to have to testify for the legislature. And I had my counterpart who represented the executive branch. And we're very nice to each other, but it was, you'd say, what my colleague is not accounting for was, and then you just kind of point out all the flaws in his or her analysis. And there was one day I had been working a whole lot. I've been working on weekends, and I was assigned the 13 judicial districts in New Mexico. And I was proud of the analysis I had done. It was very good. It was thorough. I felt very confident. So I get up and I'm testifying on it, and to my right was my counterpart representing the executive branch. And right in the middle were each of the DAs would come in and sit. And for 13 judicial districts, there was one senator who was just relentless on my analysis. I was just down to, how come furniture and fixtures in this, the third GA district is 6% lower than, and I realized what was going on early on, and this went on for 3.5 hours on the Senate floor as I'm, trying to defend my analysis. And I felt bad about it. In fact, I remember my boss came in. I was young. I was maybe late 20s. My boss came, and I remember turning to him and saying, David, his name was David Abbey. I said, David, sit down. You're not helping. It's like blood in the water. So he sat down. So after 3 hours, I held my own, and that evening, I got summoned to the senator's chambers. And the senator says, come on in. And he says, well, I just want to let you know, he said, the LSC hires good folks, and you provide good work. I just want to let you know what happened today. He said, some of the DAs were unhappy with your recommendation. I had to serve you up for them. And I remember being in my late 20s realizing that, wow, I've done all that work, and it was, just to be kind of used as an example, so to speak. That was a challenge, but I learned a lot from it. And, I'd love to, leave here and tell you you're not going to have those kind of experiences, but you largely will. And it builds a lot of character, and it shows you, that there are certain limits of formal education. Judgment, tact, discretion, being able to be politically savvy, organizationally savvy, are skills that hopefully you probably have some seed of already, and you'll help grow in your early career. Another challenge is that your life is very you over Public Works? At the time, I was over Public Works and said, yes. And she said, well, I don't understand what's going on. And I was like, you're my mother. Like, give me a little bit of slack. And I went outside, and then a cousin of mine was out there, and he was complaining that, we're supposed to reduce the number of stray animals, which we have actually a lot. And he said, but there's still a bunch in my area. I was like, I can't even escape, from my own family. But not to scare you away, but there are some challenges. But I got to tell you, it is a very rewarding career. Because even in those situations, there's also those times, like I mentioned to you, my parents. I come from a long line of counters, right? And my parents, I noticed a rock my mom had, and she said there was one that said 100 and another rock that said 200. And I asked her, I said, what are those rocks? And then she said, those are how many miles your dad and I had walked as we were walking along the parks, these new parks that we've created over the last several years. And, I feel good about that kind of stuff. I feel good about the planning that we've done and the work that we've done to get that, those kind of projects launched. Having my kids play in playgrounds that are much better than they were several years ago. And, those kind of things are very rewarding. We recently had to do an analysis on swimming pools, and I was sitting there and I was like, I used to swim that swimming pool when I was a little boy, so it's a very rewarding aspect. It can't be overstated. I'm in a unique position. And I'll tell you this, that I work in the public sector at both the state and local level, largely the local level. And then I went to work for the CPS Energy. CPS Energy is the largest municipally owned utility, but it really functions as a kind of a private sector, kind of a quasi-private sector model. So the pay is much, much better. A lot of perks, a lot of benefits. And I was there for 3 years, and I always knew I was going to come back to the city. I didn't take any of my money out of our pension system, which is called TMRS, Texas Municipal Retirement System, because I knew I was going to come back. And I followed the news. I would even attend certain public meetings just because I was interested in it. And I remember when I came back, even some of my very close friends said, because they had also read that article that talked about salaries, said, why did you leave CPS Energy? I always knew I would. I always knew I was going to come back to the city. So, it took a pretty good decrease in pay, but just the quality of life, it's really increased. I really enjoy it. I'm excited. When I see a lot of faces here as you're starting your career, it's a very good thing. I would like to share a couple of tips that hopefully will be able to help you. But I was mentioning to Tanya that she picked me up from the airport this morning, and one of the things that has served me very well, and I recommend this to you, I couldn't convey this enough to you. In fact, somebody I spoke with this morning, I made the same point. Regardless of what role I've had or task I've been given in the organization, I always have tried to know the business. And what that means is to fully embrace the role that I'm in and to learn more about it. When I moved over to CPS Energy, like I said, I knew I was going to go back to the city at some point. I didn't know if it was 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Didn't matter. I immersed myself in that organization. I learned the business. And it helped me not only grow that organization, I went over as HR director and I left as vice president of business operations because I knew the business. I gained credibility in the organization because I knew the business. I was provided more opportunities in the organization because I knew the business. I got more out of my role because I knew the business. What I mean by knowing the business is I used to run a daily operations call. So this is even after I was vice president of business operations. Somebody would ask something about an inverted weir, it's a certain type of screen that's used in power plants. Well, why do you do that? Well, here's what it is. I learned a whole lot about it. So by the time I left, in fact, when we were coming over here, I said, oh, those are transmission lines. I said, well, how can you tell the difference? Well, here's how you can tell the difference. It serves you well, whether you're I was very fortunate to be in the budget office. For those of y'all that are seeking roles in the budget office, I highly recommend it to you because it exposes you to so much of the organization, but even in those roles as well. I would do ride-alongs, with the police and fire department. If you're assigned to animal care, do a ride-along. Even now, I do, even as an assistant city manager, I want to go out on a street sweeping crew, and I made it a point to tell the director, the assistant director, I said, I don't want anybody there that's higher than a supervisor. Let's I mentioned earlier, financial understanding, that's huge, I can't overstate that. I didn't consider myself in graduate school to be a numbers person. My first role in the organization was a budget intern, and I'll tell you, knowing the financials of an organization is huge. It helps you understand mostly everything that's going on in that organization. It can't be overstated. No offense to any accountants in the room, but we used to joke that we have a finance department, and we go into accounts, and we had a budget office. And we used to say, no, accounting is a science, and budgeting is an art. And the budgeting aspect, I'll tell you, is very good. And even if you can get a role in the budget office, even if it's in another office, understand the financials, it's huge. The other thing I'll mention to you is don't worry about having a definitive plan. I was asked to be on a speakers panel a few months ago, and I was there with a few other city managers, and I kept hearing them say, you have to have a definitive plan, you got to stick to it, you got to stick to it. I worry a little bit about that, because I think that sometimes you'll get opportunities, like even when I went to work for CPS Energy, that wasn't part of my plan when I was in graduate school. I learned a whole lot, and I got a lot of experience out of it, and a lot of value, and I had a plan, I had a broad plan, but I also had some flexibility in it, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. You're having some doubts, you're really not quite sure what you want to do. I think that's okay. And then lastly, in terms of kind of a tip, is I often hear folks talk about networking and the importance, right? And I heard somebody say that your network is your net worth, right? Yeah, that's true. The one thing I would recommend to you that's a little bit different is don't just network for your next job. I've gotten a lot of value for networking for ideas, networking for resources, networking for relationships. If somebody can help me in my current role. And again, being an introvert, I don't network very well, but I've had to learn that skill, and I think it's served me very well. And to this day, when I come across a challenge or whenever there's somebody I can call, or I can draw on some sort of experience from a colleague in another department, another organization. In terms of early on in your career, I think the biggest thing, somebody asked me a great question this morning, is kind of what are you looking for as an employer when you're hiring? And I'll probably give you the atypical answer. Having been the HR director in two very large organizations, the budget manager, I've seen tons of resumes. And I've seen all the GPAs, and I've seen all that. A lot of what I'm looking for are those things that are really hard to find on a resume. And it's those soft skills that are hard to measure: judgment, tact, discretion, innovation. Those kind of things are huge. And early in your career, you show that you have that initiative, that drive. And fortunately, we've been really lucky. The city of San Antonio has a long track record. I think a good track record would be BYU, but we've been really lucky with. It seems like the students that we've hired from BYU often have those skills. They just have a certain kind of, in Spanish, those terms that have gotten us. It's like I don't know how to describe it. It's like a fire in the belly, right? It's that kind of that hunger. And I want to leave time for questions and answers. But let me tell you a little bit about the city organization and the track record we have with BYU, because I don't want you to feel like, I don't know if I want to work for the city in San Antonio. Some of these names may or may not sound familiar to you, but Tad Willie, he got hired as a budget analyst. He's now the budget director for the city of Tacoma, Washington. This wasn't like 20 years ago. We hired him in 2005, and he just moved to Tacoma a few months ago. Robbie Hammond, I also hired him as a budget analyst, and now he's the HR director for Hillsboro, Oregon. Some other names: Chad Tuskison, Brian Layton, he's currently our assistant director. He's over innovation. Joel Jenks, he's an animal care operations manager, senior management coordinator. There's a bunch of names. I think most recently Sean Metcalf and Jason Horner. No, I don't know Sean or Jason, but so the city has a good relationship. We have a deep respect and appreciation for the program. I think the BYU program prepares very good students. I stood up under Cheryl's direction, I told organization. So you get, it's an 18-month program where you spend 6 months in the city manager's office, 6 months in the budget office, and then 6 months in the operating department. What's not on the flyer, and I'll tell you it's the truth, is that this program, the city manager is very committed to this program, as well as the rest of the city manager's office. So you're given very meaningful assignments. This isn't kind of go run to get water type things. You're getting very meaningful assignments. You get exposure to a lot of high levels of the organization. You also get an opportunity. I think the city, I'll brag a little bit about, I think we've done a very good job when if someone shows an interest in a certain department, we're not going to force you when you're in that part of the rotation to, yeah, no, but we need someone in the library. We really do a good job of saying, taking someone's interest into consideration, so they have an interest on it, and we'll try to figure out how to make that part of the fellowship work for them. The program begins in the summer of 2013. The applications, and you can apply online, are due by March 1st of this year, so it's coming up here. Just need a current resume, official transcript, writing example. Everybody always asks me, how long? Doesn't matter. Just something that shows both your analytical and quantitative abilities. And then 3 work or education-related written recommendations. It's a great program about how you encourage you to consider that, as well as many other roles within the city. I think cream rises to the top, and I think that you'd be well served even if it wasn't in this role. It was the budget office, it was management analyst in another department, that'd be just as well. But again, I'm keeping my comments really brief. So I can breathe here in a second, but I want to thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you, and really, I'll be around. I'll be around. I'll fly out sometime this evening, but feel free to decide if you have any questions. I would like to take questions now if you have any. One of the things that I gleaned from my experience at CPS Energy, we used to have something called challenge sessions, and we had certain behavioral principles, and one of them was ask hard questions, ask those questions that are difficult or maybe uncomfortable. So having been there for the last few years, I don't mind that. I've been on the front lines, so I'll welcome any questions you may have. Okay.
So with the recent recession, how has that really affected San Antonio and what you're doing?
Sure. The recession hit every community. San Antonio was no different in the sense that it was impacted, but the city of San Antonio has a very diverse revenue stream. As I mentioned, we have CPS Energy, we have sales tax, property tax, about a third. So we fared fairly well. We maintained our reserves. In fact, we grew our reserves during that period. We were triple, so we're AAA rated by 3 agencies. We've done very well. A lot of communities were experiencing negative growth. We're actually still growing. We're not growing as fast as we'd like to, but we've done well. I think that Cheryl, our city manager, has done an excellent job of really instilling a financial rigor, that has really served us well. And even now, even when it gets tempting, we get good revenues. We have a hot summer, so we spend off a lot of revenue from our utility. It's easy to kind of go and spend it. I think we have a lot of internal discipline to not kind of go run and spend. So we've done fairly well. We even, I read stories about California and other places where they tend to stop, cutting off pensions and benefits and that kind of stuff. The city really haven't done that. In fact, even when we reduced positions over the last few years, and we've reduced hundreds of positions in the last few years, we haven't laid off anybody. A lot of them have been vacant. We've been able to move people to other positions. So we've been
with a city as big as San Antonio, I'm curious how you're able to stay connected with all of your staff below you. I'm sure it's a lot of employees. How do you inspire? How do you teach? How do you discuss goals so that they can be committed to it also?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I'm going to give you 2 examples. I think the city does a good job. Cheryl's every quarter she goes to a very expansive employee orientation, and she's committed to that. I mean, when I say committed, it's not just that she shows up on her calendar. I personally have CPS Energy, they did an excellent job of communicating all the way down. It was mentioned in the bio that I set up the business planning process for CPS Energy, and we had these broad organizational goals that we could tie all the way down to specific initiatives. And I felt so good one day when I was out at the gas, we also provide natural gas, and I was out at the gas area, and this guy that I had negotiated against was there. He was in the union that I negotiated with him side, he was on the labor side. And I said, hey, Don, what are you doing here? He said, oh, my shift changed. And I said, and every question that I asked him, I gave the answer to. I said, so why are you here? Oh, my shift changed. Why did it change? Well, because we're dispatching differently. Oh, when did that happen? Well, last summer. Well, why? Well, because we're actually trying to reduce our odor response time. You know, they put the odor into the gas to so you can know that. And I said, oh, okay. And I said, well, why are we doing that? Well, because we're trying to get to that top tier, and that's how we're going to get operationally excellent. That is a true story. I'm not exaggerating for a fact. He could tell you how his daily shift changed, tied all the way back up to us wanting to be operationally excellent. Not exaggerating for a fact. CPS Energy does an excellent job of being able to communicate all the way down. Everyone knows where we're headed, what the mission is. They can articulate it, and what their role is in changing it. At the city, it's harder, not because it's just harder. It's just their portfolio of services are just so much broader. But it's a good question because you get a lot of employee engagement. You can move mountains. You can do a whole lot. I think that's what it is.
How do you address the welfare needs when you're in a city that's the city of San Antonio, when you have 1 million plus people and you have a lot of income disparity? How do you address things like that on the local level?
It's difficult. I don't think you're a good answer, but it's very difficult. There's never enough. Again, I referenced it this morning as you could look at all the financials and see that you're doing very well. And it's very tempting to say, well, you're sitting on 1 month of reserve, but we have all this need. It's a constant battle. We try to do what we can. Our recent initiative of pre-K for asset, which is what it was coined, is an example of really the community coming behind and realizing that education is a big part of that. We have a lot of healthcare needs in the community. We're still struggling with that. It's a difficult thing to do. We are not a wealthy community by any stretch of the imagination, so it's a daily challenge. Yes, ma'am.
Kind of to wrap on that, if you were given $1 million to change one thing in your city, what would you change?
Probably, and I'm starting to see some of this now in the city. The health aspect of the city. It's a real challenge, and I used to be over employee benefits now, so I know a lot of the statistics about what our population looks like, but diabetes is a national epidemic, and San Antonio has twice the national prevalence rate. And it pains me when I look around at our community that we have a lot of need for just kind of awareness, health awareness. I would put money into that. I think it's because it affects so many other things. Just this morning as I was driving in, there was a piece on National Public Radio talking about paid time off and how organizations are really feeling the brunt of poor health and whatnot. So and at San Antonio, even like a reference earlier, my parents, with the 100 rock and 200 rock, you see it now. And it's interesting. It's like the old kind of the field of dreams, right? You build it, they'll come. It's interesting, even parts of the community where these creeks, I call them creeks, are actually very nice linear parks. You would imagine people would use them. They're using them. They're using them. So you're seeing that real shift. You see a lot more people running and walking in. But I think, I do worry about our community's overall health.
Can I ask a follow-up question? So, for our statistics class, we're working with Fairfield Aquatics, which is a recreation program. And I find my undergrad recreation. So, most cities, that's the first thing they cut. So, I'm curious, I guess if you were given $1 million to put there, how important do you see recreation in your city?
Oh, it's big. In fact, over the last few years, we've done a lot of things like fitness in the park. We also have these fitness stations in the parks that people use them. It's amazing how well used they are. share something with you that's personal, also, in fact, Tony probably doesn't know, but I used to be 100 pounds heavier. And I realized I was the youngest executive of the city, and I felt like I had done a bunch of stuff, but I hadn't done that. I thought, how can I do that? And I looked around my community and I worried about it. You know, and I thought, it's not sustainable for me, it's not really sustainable for this community. And it's been about 7 years and kept it all good. And I never share that story, but I tell you now because it's important. I'll show you a picture, Connie, but because when I look around, I remember as a little boy, you know, looking around and see, you know, kids, you know, drink, you see the like little kids drinking the juice in their bottle. And I don't mean orange juice. And you see less of that now. So a little dialogue has changed in San Antonio. I think we're at the beginning. We're even with our own employees. We have our employee benefits fund is $120 million. That's huge. And a lot of it is how much we're spending on health for our own employees. And, you know, 12,000 employees, that's a big part of our community. And so it's big. We have that. Yeah. Our employees we have a wellness program. So we have challenges. And again, Cheryl, not just because she's my boss, but she's an avid runner, and she's brought a really discussion about fitness, not just to the organization, but to the community at large. So it's a big deal for San Antonio. Yes.
What's the focus of economic development in a city as large and diverse as San Antonio?
Being so great. So let me give you the focus is, I think San Antonio's done a good job of really having a robust economic development program. We are very focused. We partner with a lot of communities, and it's been interesting. I went to Raleigh, North Carolina, and we were recruiting a company called Concert Energy, Concert with an S. They had about 95 employees. The average salary was about $85,000. It was a real win for San Antonio. We're trying to recruit them over. And at the same time, we were recruiting a couple of other companies. On June 20th of 2011, we announced 5 companies moving to San Antonio. And this is when I was at TPS Energy. And the CEO of a couple of those companies, we had a dinner that evening to kind of celebrate and whatnot. And I was hosting 2 tables. And it was interesting because there were 2 CEOs at 2 different tables. And they said the difference between San Antonio and economic development in a lot of other communities is in San Antonio, everyone was aligned. We had the utility aligned with the city aligned, with the county aligned, with our port. We had the Inland Port. Everybody was aligned. So I think the focus recently has made sure we have our ducks in a row and to be selective. We don't go after every program. We don't throw incentive dollars at everything because it fit in what we're trying to do. We're trying to get high-tech jobs, high-paying jobs. We're trying to bring folks into the urban core. So I think there's a broader strategy to further our development of the economy, and there's a lot of alignment. And in particular, recently we've been successful bringing kind of more biotech and high-tech jobs, and it's been successful. In fact, we're named as one of the best communities recently in terms of economic development. That was all number. And is there any other questions? Are there any other questions?
You mentioned the incentives that you provide for the employees. Where is the balance that you found where you're giving a lot of tax incentives, but you also realize we're reading some of this in our classes right now about kind of the effects it has on the local economy or the states when you're not giving these incentives, or if they don't live up to expectations, but you give them a lot of tax breaks. How do you guys negotiate with that in light of your economic development?
We pay for a lot of it. We have very rigorous agreements that talk about what they're expected to do and what we're expected to do. I think that we've been fortunate that we haven't had that situation where somebody came and said they were going to do X and they didn't do X. We also had just 2 weeks ago had a conversation with one of our councilmen who was talking to me about how we use the incentives for data centers. The city of San Antonio has attracted a lot of data centers recently. You would think, well, they don't really bring a lot of jobs. Why would you throw money after that? Incentives. But we have a broader view of it. And without weighing first thing early in the morning, and then as people are coming home, data centers help us balance that out. So it was even taking that kind of look at it. Okay, so there's value there. Well, how much value? Is that worth paying? Well, yeah, we also get 14 cents on every dollar that we're selling for data centers, which use a lot of electricity. How does that factor in? We have a very broad view about it. And and again, I really wasn't planning to give my boss any kudos, but I think Cheryl's been much more, just very smart about how we use those dollars and how we're, we have limited dollars, and we are going to get asked, why do you support this program or not? And I think she's done a good job of making sure that we're well protected. Are there any other questions?
From your perspective, what are the top key attributes specifically of an assistant city manager?
I mentioned earlier to be politically savvy, and that's interesting because that doesn't mean to be political. And a key attribute is to be aware of the politics, but not to be driven by them. I think another attribute, especially in San Antonio, is, and I just sat on the interview panel, I wish I could see you, I just sat on the interview panel for both when we hired our deputy city manager and assistant city manager. And one of the things I was looking for was, you almost need to be like a mini city manager. You need to take a project and take it all the way to the end. Vet it all. Have you talked to all the stakeholders? Have you thought of all the pitfalls? You're not just kind of a super department head. You have to function at that level. I remember telling one of the applicants, I said, Cheryl is going to occasionally pull you back. You never want her to push you forward. And what I mean by that is, you almost want her to say, hey, well, slow down. You never want her to say, well, have you done this? Have you talked to this person? Have you talked to that person? We recently briefed her on we have a $300+ million convention center expansion project. And I went in there, not am I telling you, she said, have you all talked to the stakeholders? And we were real proud, right? We had a very extensive stakeholder communication plan. So, yeah, we did. We talked to this person, that person. She said, well, those are the GMs, and you talked to the owners. We all looked at each other like, no. And so we said, we took that as a takeaway, and I personally took it as a failure, so to speak, as I went, I thought, man, we have so many moving parts, I hadn't thought about that. Assistant city manager, you need to think about those kind of things. You need to walk all that through. We had uncovered this old aqueduct. It was actually really neat looking at one of the zoo near one of our large parks. And Cheryl calls me and says, I heard there's a big issue about this. Media's calling. One of the council members, she's upset about it. So I'll take care of it, find out. Next morning, convene a meeting. We had all the stakeholders involved. I was signing an MOU with them by Friday afternoon saying, we're still going to remove it. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to document it. Here's the projects that move forward. Here's everything that's going on. We all agree. And as I'm signing, I'm thinking, well, I haven't checked in with her, but it makes perfect sense. And when I sat with her on Monday, so every Monday we sit down and all the executive leadership team, all the assistant city managers, we talk about critical issues. It was kind of one of those like, oh, by the way, I signed a memorandum of agreement with the Conservation Society as well as San Antonio River Authority. Here's what we're doing. Here's how we're proceeding. She nodded. She's like, good. That's what an assistant city manager should be able to do. That's a key attribute, to be able to have that kind of drive, just move forward. I'd rather her occasionally say, well, I wish you would have checked in with me, as opposed to saying, well, if you did get it done, that's okay. But again, be politically aware, not be political, be astute, being able to appreciate the needs of the community. I think that's a big thing. I also think for me personally, and this isn't a critique of other city managers, but I think to be well informed, what's going on in other communities, to read up, to keep up with the profession, and know what's going on, to understand. Again, I'm not over the health department, but I'm fascinated with the public health policy aspect of it. I'm not over public safety, but I'm very interested in the effect that the pension burden from public safety is having It's, it's difficult, it's a real challenge. And I think it hasn't been until the last couple of years that I think I've done better at it. I think it's still, I'm self-critical enough to tell you I don't do a very good job of it. But I do a better job than I used to. When I was a budget analyst, I worked way too much. I worked, Saturdays, Sundays, occasionally, and just worked way too much. And I saw the effect that it, had on my kiddos and that kind of stuff. And so now what I do is I try to, instead of just partitioning them, I try to meld them a little bit. I don't know if that's the best thing, but occasionally I bring my kids along and I'll do certain things. I have to go to a function, I kind of involve them as much as possible. I also just say no to certain things. I realized, I once had a debate with a local columnist who's always critical of the city. And it was interesting. He actually passed away a few years ago. He sent me an email and I responded right away. And he responded again. He said, "Where are you right now?" I said, "In the office." He said, "You work too much." And I said, he said, "You're always responding right away." And I said, "Yeah, well, okay." And then I said, and I remember this real clearly, I said, "I only stop by the office for a minute. I won't be here long." And he said, "That's going to be on your epitaph, right?" I remember getting angry with him. I got a little defensive, but my father-in-law passed away a few years ago, and I was in the budget office, and it was during budget season, and it's crazy. Sometimes you don't leave there until 3, 4, 5 in the morning, literally during budget season. And he was very ill, and he was in hospice, and I remember leaving, thinking, I need to be there, And I left, and I got there, and he had passed away 2 minutes earlier. And I remember thinking, and then I dissected my day. I thought, I could have left 2 minutes earlier. I could have left 20 minutes earlier. I could have left 2 hours earlier. And that was a real transition for me. So I've tried to do better than that. I rarely work on Sundays. I don't really work on Saturdays, of course. I try to balance it a lot. But it's a challenge. It's a constant challenge. And especially when you do good work, people want to put you on committees and do other stuff like that. So it's hard.
Well, please join me in thanking